Ladies and gentlemen, listen to this outline. Please listen to this outline. You owe it to yourself, whether you're a Jasmy investor or not. You want to stick around to the end of this outline. Jasmy will go to a minimum of 70 cents in this core industry, and I have research to back up that hypothesis. I'm going to also give multiple shout outs to other researchers in this outline as well. We're going to just jump right into it here shortly. And yes, solid research instead of, the whole thing of, I have a feeling that it's going to go to 70 cents because I feel it. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm going to back it up with some research. And of course, shout out to all these guys. So let's start off with Lil Bidman, okay? He has been killing it, covering this longer than I have. But yes, you got to see it for yourself. So we're going to start off with this. And again, please smash the like if you haven't done so already. Stick around to the end of the outline. Solid research to back it all up. All right, here we go. We're going to start off with this. This is from PR Times, okay? We've cited them numerous times before, and it's like what you see on the screen. Let's full screen this. And that is Docomo Anode Energy, Smile Energy, begin to demonstrate an experiment of optimal control of home storage batteries to promote the spread of renewable energy. Now, as you see on the screen, earn D points just by spending your time as usual. And it says July 10th, 2024. Now, I want to point this out, okay? I know that in the past, when I've done some coverage in regards to batteries, some people are maybe on board with that. Some people aren't. But again, we're going to get more into this and make some sense out of all of this, okay? So, Little Bidman went above and beyond with this one. Let's go ahead and scroll further down into this, get into the key things here, guys. So, basically speaking, you're going to see about why we're bringing it to you guys. So, as recently of Wednesday, July 10th, right, just a few days ago, the Docomo itself provided a demand response service that controls electricity demand according to the power supply situation. Now, if you've been following me for a while, we talked about some of these key patents when it comes to Tadashi Morita in regards to some of the recent patents he came out with in regards to power supplies. They even talked about some things in regards to Sony PlayStation, and I get it. Sometimes that goes over people's heads. But some of these other statements is really crucial to pay attention to, okay? So when you see the thing about, for instance, a business feasibility, I should say, of the service by remotely and optimally controlling, the timing of discharging of home storage batteries during times of tight supply and demand. Well, you see some dates here, and of course it's in Japanese, but it consistently, mentions 2025, and that's a little hint I'm going to give you here in the, as we get more into the outline. But it gives you a demonstration of all this. But again, guys, here's the point. Remember, in the past, and it's even cited, I believe, from Jasmy Management. Yes, it is. In regards to the DD coin, yeah, a lot of us have forgotten about the DD coin, have we not? But yen-denominated back stable coin, okay? So if you guys are new to the whole crypto space, why is it such a big deal in regards to, like, pairings, Circle USDC, and Tether USDT and so on? Because pairings create volume, and it's the enablers of just purchasing some of these digital assets and so on. So as we get more into the outline, I'll put some emphasis on that, but not so much where that's it, because it's not. All right. So as we get further into this, look what it says from NTT Smile Energy Co. Limited. Customers who take part of this demonstration will do what? They will receive 10,000 D points, limited to a certain period. And of course, there's a participation benefit. They're going to receive 5 D points, limited to a certain period in use. For every kilowatt that's reduced from the most recent average electricity purchase amount after the control is implemented. Applications to participate in this demonstration will be accepted from Wednesday, July 10, 2024, again, just a few days ago, to Saturday, November 30th, 2024. Okay. So is that it? Is that all we really have in regards to this whole thing of these points? Well, no, of course not. But again, something I want to point out is some of the citations, some of the, business categories. So you have electricity, gas, resource energy, environment, eco, recycling. Some of the key words here, storage battery. Okay. And so I'm going to jump over to this next part of this outline. And this is again from Little Bidman, but you may think like you don't really get it, but actually, guys, you do. And here's why. It says, what is the automatic battery control option? Well, Docomo Denki aims to create a smart and clean world, now offering this option. Does this come full circle back to the whole thing of this point system, what Jasmy management mentioned, I think back in 2022, give or take? But it says to the customers who participated in this advanced experience, 10,000 points. D points. Again, think about DD coin, talking about some of those points, and I'm going to show you that reference just to back it up, just in case you're new to all this. And I know some of this is big on the screen, some is small, but this is just the perfect fit. There's a key date I don't want you to forget about, all right? And that will be a bombshell if you stick around to the end, all right? If you're serious about Jasmy and some of these other things, you need to stick around to the end. So D points, limited to a period in use, will be rewarded for completing the application around the end of March 2025. Why is March 2025 brought up so much? And for you guys that are into other projects, you know where I'm going with that. It says, please note that you can cancel this verification, to the last day, blah, blah, blah. But the point is, contributing to things, society, how about earning points? Right. So lots to talk about these D points, right? And that's the main key thing I want all of you guys to take away from it, because again, even in Japanese, you consistently see about deadlines for 2024, but more in particular, 2025. Okay. Talks about this point club membership and how it talks about D points on point 3 will be awarded for completing the application around the end of March 2025. And they, of course, talk about how some people, if they don't meet that deadline, they won't receive the points. Okay. So here's the thing. I'm going to jump on over to, of course, this right here. And this is also crucial, in my opinion, to understand. So again, back to the whole conversation, I should say, in regards to, where this leads into, and that's actually this particular slide. So remix point, again from Little Bidman, cited basically June 25th, 2024. Maybe there's some other people cover this, but not to this deep dive degree. Remix point began demonstrating an experiment of AI control function of home hybrid energy storage system. Think about that term, storage system, which is called Remix Battery. Now, we understand when it comes to Hara and Junction, you have AI and DPIN, and, this is how Jasmy's going to scale, right, with this layer 2 and so on. But in AI, layer 2 blockchain through Junction, basically speaking. He pounds that home all the time, does he not? Well, when we get into this will open up your eyes a little bit more, because Remix Point announced in its IR News briefing, if you will, that it began to demonstrate experiments of the AI control function of its home hybrid power storage system. Now, again, it's understanding how all this stuff is really, really connected, at least in my opinion. Here's Remix Battery. You can go to battery.remixpoint.co.jp, and of course it's all going to be in Japanese. Now, I've already taken the liberty of explaining these things. So we see the visuals here. I'm going to take over here. It's Google Translate, okay? So actually, I'm just going to translate for you. So here's what it says on the far left. Let's start off with that. So basically in the interpretation from Japanese to English, it says to generate electricity from sunlight. All of this, kind of sounds like solar, but it's not. This is the key thing. Electricity is generated during the day from solar panels installed in your home. The generating electricity can be used as is, store electricity in a storage battery. From there, I think we're at like the middle part. Electricity can be generated during the day and unused is stored in a storage battery. Again, some people say, well, this sounds just like solar. Hear me out. Kicking it to the far right side, used stored electricity will happen at night, and used electricity at night will also be stored when there's no sunlight. By storing electricity in a storage battery, though, you can use electricity even at night when solar power cannot be generated. Now, think about that. That in itself is game changing. This is where IoT is going to do what, guys? It's going to kick in. All right. Something I want to point out for you guys. How many times have you heard me and other researchers talk about Genki Oda? Whether it's Jesse of KIR Finance, maybe you heard Rob or Crypto Future 99. Many other people have, not just myself, have talked about Genki Oda, right? Big, huge connections. So just in case if you're new to this all, like it says, Oda is the chairman of BitPoint Japan. This is from a slide actually from Dip Metaverse, so shout out to him as well. It says a crypto asset exchange, which became a hot topic with big boss Tsuyoshi Shinjo as an ambassador, and Kazumasa Sato is the president of Jasmy, as we know, who issued the crypto asset Jasmy coin. Now, I'm leaving this slide up here because I got some notes I want to get into. Now, here is what Lil Bidman is trying to get us to understand, and that is this, okay? Basically speaking, according to his research, all right, Genki Oda of SBI is currently involved in the company of Remix Point. That's why we were sharing it with you. But after the sale, the 51% sale to SBI, because, Genki Oda is part of SBI, in regards to BitPoint, it looks like Remix Point is now the second largest shareholder. Wow. Now, for all you guys wondering, okay, Max, cool story, bro. How is this significant, and what does it mean for Jasmy basically moving forward? Great question. It's basically understanding the implications in regards to this and the significance of Remix Point's shareholding, as pointed out by Lil Bidman. So the whole fact, guys, that Remix Point is associated with Genki Oda is big, and of course SBI, big, right? But there is this whole thing of this acquisition. So I'm going to get into about roughly 4 key things in regards to why this is so significant. So number one, it's the strengthened relationship between SBI and Remix Point. You better believe this development reinforces the whole close ties, right, between SBI and, of course, Remix Point. It highlights the strategy or strategic strategy and importance, I should say, of the latter within the SBI ecosystem. Now, as of course, potential synergies and collaborations, well, guys, listen to this. Given the increased stake, Remix Point might have a more influential role, of course, in BitPoint's operations, potentially leading to collaborations, resource sharing, and, of course, joint ventures. And as I get more into this outline, I'll even get a shout out to Rue Black because we covered some of these things in regards to joint ventures, right? With another particular project, Jasmy, and another one. You have to stick around for that particular point. It ain't going to be very long. Some of you guys seen the videos, I should say. It's 2 parts. So what about market perception? Well, you got to believe that there's investor confidence when you see some of this stuff. So a substantial shareholding by Remix Point could positively impact investor perception of BitPoint, and it would definitely signify confidence from a company, of course, associated with SBI. Would there be an impact on BitPoint's business strategy? Well, yeah. Remix Point's involvement might very well influence BitPoint's business strategy, potentially leading to new product offerings, market expansions, or even technological advancements. I'm going to come back in the frame on this one. So at the end of the day, you may be wondering, that's cool. What about the whole thing in regards to Jasmy? Well, there's implications of that. implications. Sometimes I get so into the research, things don't come out right. Apologize. While there's a direct impact on Jasmy, you got to understand it might not be like immediately apparent, but it's what's involved with the whole bigger picture for the future. Several indirect factors could come into play. Let's talk about this for a brief moment, and then we're going to get into some of these other key things, right? Don't want to dismiss any of this. So, guys, don't get twisted. 3 key things I want to talk about this in regards to like the whole thing with Jasmy. How many times have we talked about getting a strengthened ecosystem? If Remix Point and BitPoint collaborate basically on projects or share resources, you better believe it could indirectly benefit Jasmy if there are synergies or overlaps in their business areas. What's a perfect example that we've recently seen that's a huge name where it's, indirectly speaking? Well, of course, it's Jasmy and Panasonic. Then next thing you know, you see big announcement in regards to the partnerships. But the second point I want to get into is, will this create increased market visibility? Isn't that what we all want? Of course it is. A stronger BitPoint with Remix Point's involvement could potentially attract more attention to the cryptocurrency market, but it gets better. It will also benefit Jasmy as a player in, of course, the same ecosystem. Just because you don't see things printed on certain websites and so on is what is indirectly involved that creates some of these ecosystems. What about potential partnerships, integrations? Well, I'm with you guys. I hear where you're coming from. BitPoint and Jasmy will definitely find common grounds in terms of tech, but of course those business goals. In my opinion, there's a possibility of future partnerships, integrations, and of course, as we know, that would totally benefit Jasmy. Now, the other thing I want to get into real quick, and I'll put up this screen real quick just in case you forgot who we're talking about, right? Shout out to this screenshot from Dip Metaverse. Back to the topic of these 2 guys. Genki Oda is the guy on the left, just in case you're new to all this. So, it's understanding that, basically speaking, the specific business areas and tech of Remix Point and how they align with BitPoint and Jasmy is huge because of the overall strategy of SBI. Again, the guy on the left who is Genki Oda. And of course, what he brings to the cryptocurrency and blockchain space. Now, of course, there's going to be market sentiment just like anything, but it's investors' reaction to all of this, guys, to the increased shareholding of what? Back to the main topic at the beginning, Remix Point and, of course, BitPoint. Now, another thing I want to discuss before we get more into all of this is basically this. I come out of or back into the screen. Tokenization, the utility put into motion in regards to Jasmy Coin. Okay, so we are on the subject of renewable energy, are we not? Let's talk about how this comes into the factor of IoT, tokenization, but most importantly, Japan in that synergistic approach. Okay, and I won't bore you with too much of the details, but we know that even in Japan, they are prone to natural disasters. They've had some bad things that happened in the past, earthquakes, tsunamis, you name it. But they are an ideal candidate for harnessing just that, guys, renewable energy, of course, through IoT. This is right up Japan's alley. Now, when we talk about IoT-enabled renewable energy infrastructure, there's about roughly 4 key things that really stood out. Real-time monitoring. As we know, we've studied the whole thing in regards to IoT sensors and how it could track solar and wind speed and other things like that, right? Energy production. There's a thing called predictive maintenance. As we know, with IoT, you can optimize the use of energy storage systems, ensure maximizing the utilization of renewable energy. But guys, when we talk about supply and demand, there's a demand response to it all. By analyzing energy consumption patterns, IoT in itself can help balance supply and demand through dynamic price or load shedding. But the Jasmy connection, yeah, you know where I'm going with that. Okay. forget Jasmy for a second. How does it directly benefit Japan? Because we can talk about Jasmy till we're blue in the face. At the end of the day, they are part, excuse me, of that bigger picture. So, four things I want to get into in that is energy independence. It's going to reduce the reliance, of course, for fossil fuels. Hence why you see all this stuff about green energy, even from the Jasmy side of things. Disaster resilience, we already talked about that, right? How about economic growth? Well, creating new jobs in the renewable energy sector is a good thing, especially in a declining population such as Japan. What about environmental sustainability? Well, whether you're a fan of it or not, reducing carbon emissions and protecting the environment, that's a big thing. All right, real quick, back to the whole thing of tokenization, because at the end of the day, we need to talk about that. So we know that when it comes to tokenization, it involves converting assets basically and putting on chain, digital tokens on blockchain. But the concept of renewable energy and how IoT comes into the whole bigger picture. So there's projects like Energy Web Token, and I recognize that and so on. If you guys hold that, that's cool. But how about Jasmy part of that mix? That's something that's not really mentioned a lot, is it not? So renewable energy generated can be converted into tokens representing units of energy. And we're going to really into this, okay? How about trading and exchange? These tokens, as in the Jasmy token, can be traded on energy exchanges. Hear me out on that. What would that do? It's going to create a new market for, of course, renewable energy. There's going to be tremendous investment opportunities for people that don't even know about the whole concept of Jasmy, but they just like the idea that it's going to be tokenized and that they themselves can have fractional ownership in regards to all this renewable energy projects. And you better believe it's going to create a mechanism, if you will, for making investments accessible, of course, to just that, guys, a wider audience. Doesn't mean it's just Japan. All right. So how would this directly impact Jasmy? You know, gave you some examples, but I mean, in reality, like, how would it play a crucial role to increase data value? Think about that. Jasmy, as we know, has a focus on just that, data. And they play a crucial role in collecting and analyzing IoT data from renewable energy systems. But a new revenue stream? Say what you want, whether you're a fan of monetizing data or not, it's giving people a choice. Isn't that the whole point of data democratization? It is. Jasmy could potentially develop, of course, data monetization models based on renewable energy data. But I don't think it's a possibility anymore. And when I get more into the outline, you will understand that. Of course, there's partnerships. Of course, there's tokenization opportunities. But exploring tokenization for Jasmy of energy data and other assets would create new value opportunities, but big data, high value data opportunities. So there's a lot of things in regards to regulatory framework, interoperability, cybersecurity, and we cover that. The next thing I want to get into is getting into why we brought up the whole thing of the DD coin and these point systems and so on. So if you're new to this, here it is, full circle for you. I'm out of the frame. Let's put some emphasis on this. So number one is understanding that back in June 28th of 2022, Jasmy management team introduced the DD coin. And it's basically the whole concept of what? Traditional point system. And DD coin, a user perspective. See how it all comes back full circle? Points cannot be used except for specific purposes. Specific uses are determined, such as gaming, shopping, etc., and basically cannot be used for other purposes. But is it recorded on a server? Yes, point values are recorded on the company's server. All right, what about digital marketing? Data is analyzed and used by the company and not returned to the user. Does this expand the growth of Jasmy? Yes. It can be used for other services within the platform. NFTs, ticket purchases, investments, ride shares, fund tokens, you name it. Back to the topic of DD coin, recorded on blockchain. DD coin is issued on the blockchain. Jasmy initiative would take a role as a transaction approver node. Then the last part, data value is returned to the individual. Data used by the company is rewarded back to the user. Does this not make sense in how it comes all full circle? That's why I'm sharing it with you guys, okay? And of course, there's more of the system and so on. And we talked about some of this stuff, right? The functionalities. We covered all this in the past, but I was just getting to some of the key highlights. All right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you over here. These are some good examples. Why am I showing you Bitcoin? Some people are going to point that out like, I thought we're talking about Jasmy. Well, isn't Jasmy the Bitcoin of what, guys? Japan, right? So the point I'm trying to share here is the DD coin. That's, Jasmy is basically like their stable coin, if you will. And look how many times you see all these examples from Bitcoin. The reason why I'm sharing this with you is I want you to understand that stable coins are the enablers of volume, the enablers of, purchasing assets, okay? You have to have pairings, and pairings create lots and lots of volume, as you can see here. It creates, access to liquidity and different types of exchanges who provide that. So as you can see, there's Binance, there's Coinbase, but again, this is just Bitcoin. And look how many pages there are, 638 pages of these pairings. Okay, so that's crucial to understand some of this stuff, but the majority of these pairings are done through either Tether or Circle. Okay, so let's jump into the next part. And as you will see here, for example, you have a great example of Jasmy, Tether, Jasmy, even with the US dollar, Jasmy, of course, with some of these other ones, but about 11 plus pages of pairings. This is why I'm sharing this stuff with you. Okay. All right, the next part I'm going to get into real quick. Let's talk about this. Jasmy's personal data locker and, of course, solar energy. Remember how we just mentioned some of those examples earlier from Little Bidman and connecting it? It's understanding this analogy that I'm bringing to you guys. So here's the analogy, and that is this. Jasmy's personal data locker functions similarly to a storage battery in the context of what? Data. It stores personal data securely, allowing users to control its access and, of course, its usage. Now, there's four main things I want to get into, but I'm not going to get into all these particular examples, but I will point out this point, data monetization. When solar energy is used, because you guys want the examples of like, hey, I only care about this thing makes me a ton of money, right? I get that. So when solar energy is unused, everybody, is stored for later use or sale. Similarly, data stored in PDL can be monetized by providing access to it for specific purposes and basically for user control conditions. Now, this gets really, really interesting. This monetization can be, of course, facilitated through the Jasmy token. Some of us know that, some of us don't. But it will create a market for data usage. Now, how do we harness some of that data? Well, it's optimizing it. So data, as we know, like electricity, can be optimized for usage. The PDL, the personal data locker from Jasmy, will be used to analyze data usage patterns to suggest efficient storage and retrieval methods. Okay. Will it be optimized? Well, yes. It's going to lead to cost savings and improved user experience, similar to optimizing like energy consumption through, of course, smart grids. And if you've been following this channel for a while, we covered a lot about that in regards to smart grids, Tadashi Morita, etc., etc. Now back to this, and this is one of the main things you need to listen to. It's tokenization and data economy. I'll say it again, data economy. This is how, and I'll get into all of this here shortly, how Jasmy, through this industry alone, will hit 70 cents. I know some of you people, you're like, you're just coming up with that out of the blue. No, I always tell who listens to the research, because the ones that don't, they don't stick around. Stick around. If you're really serious about Jasmy, stick around. You'll be glad that you did. Okay? The Jasmy token can represent value, of course, in this data economy. Data is stored and used. Stored and used. Jasmy itself, the tokens could generate whether they're consumed or not, but it will create a tokenized ecosystem. That's the whole point. Tokenization, as we know, can incentivize data sharing. The personal data locker from Jasmy itself ensures data privacy and, of course, security. So would it create more value for the utility of Jasmy? Well, yes, because the data in itself is used for storage, used for access and transactions, of course, in the ecosystem. Well, would it drive token demand? Yeah, you better believe it would. PDL and the data economy will grow. The demand for Jasmy tokens, of course, likely to increase. So is that all I basically have? No, it's not. There was some things that was collected from like different sources, and this is just my summary of notes. So everybody knows, for the most part, MIT, okay, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. In a report from them and also from CRE Insight Journal, it's this key understanding of the data economy. Hear me out. The data economy, if you weren't aware of it, is a global ecosystem where data is collected, analyzed, shared by businesses, individuals, and of course, governments. Data is a valuable resource. We know this, but companies can use data to improve services, create new products, gain insights to contribute to economic growth. Is that all I have? No. I'm going to show you a visual that is crucial for your understanding. Here it is. Why is this important? Well, it's basically like this, okay? And that is where it says shaping Europe's digital future. Now, we always talk about Japan, but you got to believe that Europe is part of this huge mix because they are building a data economy. So I'm going to share this on a bigger screen, and I want to share some of these key things. So it mentions health, industrial and manufacturing, agriculture, finance, mobility, Green Deal, energy, public administration, and skills. It says driven by stakeholders. See how that came back full circle, back to Little Bidman's example. There's a rich pool of data, varying degree of openness. Sectoral data, governments, contracts. What about smart contracts, guys? Licenses, access rights, usage rights. All this is part of what? Data democratization, technical tools for data pooling and, of course, sharing. This is crucial, guys, to understand this. You may think this is just the educational side. I don't care about it. I just want to see price. But again, this will connect to that price if you stay the course for this outline. Technical infrastructure for data spaces, edge infrastructure, and, of course, services. Cloud infrastructure and services, high performing computing, AI on demand platform. Again, that would be your junction connection. And of course, even some of these other ones. But I love this statement. How do we kick it over to some of those contracts? Through governance and so on. And if anything, high value data sets from the public sector? Awesome. All right. Let's jump into this for a second. What are some examples of industrial and commercial data use? Well, jet engines basically is a great example. Why is that? Because they are filled basically with thousands of sensors and transmit data back to ensure efficient operation. Remember when Jasmy had its significant runs and so on, but again, mentions of sensors? Again, sometimes, guys, supply and demand kicks in from an institutional side that us in retail just simply aren't aware of. What about the whole thing of wind farms and how they use industrial data to reduce visual impact and optimize wind power? All right, you guys want some talk about numbers. What about that real-time traffic avoidance navigation? Is that going to save a lot of money for Europe? Yep, it is. It's going to save 730 million hours in regards to that avoidance. It represents up to 20 billion euros in labor costs. So there's a lot of big numbers here in regards to, travel, commuting, healthcare. Let's jump to this next part. So this is crucial for your understanding as well. Why am I sharing this? Well, it says here that the value of data economy of the EU 27, which is quite a few countries like Austria and many others, right, was almost 325 billion. Basically, EU 27 is the European Union, okay? So it says 325 billion in 2019, representing 2.6% of GDP. The same estimate predicts that it will increase over 550 billion euros by 2025, representing 4% of the overall European Union GDP. This is from a source of final study report, the European Data Market Monitoring Tool. So some of you guys want citations. Now, it's the strategy for this, guys. And that's where I'm going to take a pause. So I don't want you to forget some of these statements. Try to remember, 2025, and then, their evaluation of it going up to like 4%. All right, I want to state this. Please don't forget this, okay? So basically speaking, the value of data economy in the European Union was some of those figures that we just talked about. Well, do you know that in the latest reports, the value of data economy in the European Union, as in the EU 27, is projected to reach quite a bit by 2025. They say about 829 billion. And I know some of you guys like talks about trillions, and we're going to get into that in a bit. But again, by 2025, it represents a significant increase, okay, from previous estimates. This growth is attributed to the European Data Act. All right, so that's a reference as well, another citation. And other initiatives aimed at enhancing data accessibility and uses across sectors. Again, guys, this is just Europe in itself, okay? So when I say 70 cents, and I'll give you, the math with that and so on, again, this is just for European Union, all right? I should have basically mentioned that to begin with. Add up all the other places in the world and so on. So that European Data Act, those initiatives, what are they aiming to do? They're aiming to enhance data accessibility across different sectors, but the data economy, European Union, is expected to play a crucial role in the European Union's GDP, gross domestic product, okay? Because it will drive innovations in data governance and so on, right? All right. So I want you guys to understand this. We talk about, for example, the EU, Austria, Belgium, Bulgaria, all these different countries. But I want you to understand the EU is an economic and political union. They allow for free movement of people's goods, goods, services, capital between member states. The European Union itself also operates as a single market, and most member countries use common currency, as we know, as the euro. As of January 1st, 2024, this is why I mentioned it to you guys, the European Union has a population of around 449 million people. So that's a decent amount of people. But it's not just it's a decent amount of people, it's also like a lot of these people hold a lot of real estate, they hold a lot of money, right? One thing I also want to point out is in a 2022 report, the European Union's gross domestic product was about 15.9 trillion euros, all right? This is the total value of all goods and services provided in the European Union during the year. And it's an important indicator of the European Union's economic strength. Just to put it into measure, the European Union's GDP is the second largest in the world, of course, after the United States, and represents about 1/6 of the global economy. Now, in this year, listen to this, okay? I'm going to share this on the screen for you. In this year itself, let's pull this back up. In this year itself, look what it says. Approximately 15.8 trillion euros, right? This is the combined GDP of the 27 member states that compose the European Union, amounted to approximately 15.8 trillion. And of course, that was published not that long ago, guys, a few days ago. Now, where am I really going with this? Well, again, back to the whole topic of, like, for example, data economy, all right? So I want to share this, okay? Rue Black, shout out to Rue. Him and I did a couple collaborations. He got 2-part series about Swiftcoin and Jasmy, Mizuho Bank, Tim Draper, and VC capital and all this stuff, right? You owe it to yourself to watch that because it's going to give you a bigger picture of things. But again, Mizuho Bank, that's why I'm citing that for you guys. Now, this will blow you away, okay? So I'm going to share this. Let's go ahead and cite this. So here's what's key to understand, okay? Let's take you over to here. Mizuho Bank. Incoming remittances. In Japan, Mizuho plans to start receiving ISO 222 format messages for incoming relay remittances started, of course, March 2023. Well, we know that ISO 222 went live in March 2023, but it went live. It wasn't a mandate. But here's some of the more deeper dive info. When Mizuho receives international payment messages in the ISO 222 format from overseas to Japan, they process the data, okay, by converting it into the current format. All right. So where is this from? Where is this cited? It's from mizuhogroup.com/bank what we do cash management and ISO 222. So it says, since the ISO 222 format is expected to contain more information than the current format, it may not be possible to display all the information in incoming remittance statements on the host computer, PC, bulk transmission, and so on. But they have more about this, okay? So again, I want to share some of these key things because it's unbelievable. Because I saw, for example, this statement, right? And it's hard to see this, I get it, but on the top right corner, you see here that this guy, shout out to him, Tarsby, he mentions that Japanese banks currently integrating with RippleNet through Xcurrent to make real-time payments, including who? Mizuho Bank. Okay, I see why you cited some of this stuff, right, in regards to what you did with Ru and Mizuho and so on. Yeah, but check this out, it gets even better. Because back to Mizuho Group, they have a response, okay, at Mizuho Bank. I should say Mizuho Group. So it's in regards to remittances, okay? So look what it says here. This is crucial for your understanding. So when I jump into this, look what it says in regards to ISO 222. It said that, basically speaking, that you see that they will be alongside for the bigger picture of the new format until November 2024 or 2025, excuse me, after which a new format will become mandatory. We cited that mandatory thing, right? But it says, in addition to financial institutions, customers who make foreign remittances are expected to be affected, right? Well, what are you talking about, right? Well, here's the thing. We know the present model was Swift, as in traditional Swift, not Swift blockchain. But you see Fedwire mentioned here. But when you get into the part on the far right, it says, from the Mizuho point of view, that you have this whole concept of what? You have ISO 222 migration. And most importantly is understanding the international standardized format, even when it comes to local settlement systems. Now, this part of this example, I've been talking about this for at least 2 years or more. Talking about how on the old traditional Swift MT messaging standard, not enough to get the message across, not enough story, and if anything, messages truncate, they get lost in translation. But look what it says here, transaction data with flexible content details through ISO 222. And what do you see on the example? Mizuho Company or Mizuho Bank gives way more, flexibility in regards to that content, okay? And understanding how they are also part of the whole mix of ISO 222, right? And like it says, being in compliance with ISO 222 has been issued by the Japanese Bankers Association. So what is really the whole Jasmy connection, right? Well, again, when we get more into this, it's understanding this. And this is a whopper if there ever was one. I know this is quite the outline, and some of you guys don't want it to go over an hour or whatever, but it is what it is. So this is from LinkedIn, okay? From LinkedIn, and I'll go to the top part of this for a second. Japan FinTech, March 3rd, 2024, talking about some of these key things, okay? So I want to share this with you, and man, when I saw it, I was absolutely blown away with some of this stuff because here it is, guys. Plain as day. Mizuho Financial Group, MFG, announced its intention to designate Mizuho Americas, read that, LLC, which is called MALLC, a wholly owned U.S. subsidiary of MFG's direct subsidiary, which is Mizuho Bank, and its U.S. intermediate holding company, as defined by the United States Federal Reserve Board's regulation. Wow. It says a foreign banking organization in the U.S. with more than $100 billion in combined U.S. assets is required to designate an IHC on the first day in the ninth quarter following the date in which its average U.S. non-branch assets increase to about $50 billion or more. Now, what's crucial to understand here is that the connection to the Federal Reserve, and more importantly, the whole thing of the United States. Okay, and they got this illustration in Japanese of banks as a service, right? So interesting to see some of these things. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take you to why this is so crucial for your understanding, because wow, wait for it. Here we go. Boom. Fedwire Fund Service ISO 222 Implementation Center. On June 27, 2022, the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System announced off-site and Federal Register notice that the Federal Reserve banks will adopt what? ISO 222 message format for the Fedwire Fund Service in a single implementation strategy, March 10, 2025. Again, is this in alignment with Mizuho? And you're not understanding, maybe this is why Jasmy is so trying to break into finance democracy. And to see those statements about Jasmy and Mizuho and tying all this in, I was blown away. Okay, I really, really was, because for me, it's all making sense. Okay, there's key dates for a reason. This is no longer a coincidence in my book. With this implementation, the Federal Reserve banks will sunset the existing proprietary Fedwire application interface manual format and replace all FAIM messages, of course, with ISO 222 messages. Interesting, right? And back to the whole thing. It's to ensure from the Federal Reserve and those banks that everyone involved in preparing for Fedwire Fund Service ISO 222 single day implementation is March 10, 2025 as well. We're prepared. Again, understanding Japan's connection and Mizuho, right? All right. How do we tie in some of these other things? Well, back in March 2nd, 2017, Japan Bank Consortium, from this citation from CNBC, did in fact plan to use blockchain tech from Google-backed Ripple to make payments. Been there, done that. Some of you guys already seen some of these reports, right? How about this other one? Shout out to Will Fix. He talked about this in some of his videos. Ripple in partnership with 80% of Japanese banks, study reveals. A study reveals 80% of Japanese banks, of course, partner with Ripple, blockchain company aiming to revolutionize global payments. Published June 7th. A lot of you guys saw the report. But you see how this comes all full circle? Shout out to Dip Metaverse, who had his hypothesis in regards to at some point Ripple and Jasmy will more than cross paths. They got to be doing something, right? Because again, the research backs that up. All right, let's talk about this, because back to the subject of some of these numbers. So the value of data economy of the European Union was almost 325 billion in 2019. All right, and we're way away from 2019, basically speaking. And I get that. You know, some people are definitely going to point out, hey, Max, we're basically in 2024. Where are you going with this? Well, you got to keep in mind that 325 billion euros in 2019 represented 2.6% in gross domestic product. But that same estimate, of course, predicted, at least back then, that would increase over 550 billion euros by 2025. Well, we're in 2024. But they stated back in that 2019 report that that would represent 4% of the overall European Union GDP. Now, that was in 2019. What is the report now going to 2025? Well, from the notes I gathered from the European Commission, if anybody's taken tally of all the citations we have, the latest reports show that the value of the data economy in the European Union, or the EU 27, if you want to be technical, is projected to reach 829 billion by 2025, representing a significant increase from those previous estimates. Yeah, that's a big deal, is it not? The growth, if you're wondering what it's attributed to, is to the European Data Act and other initiatives. That's what I was talking about before, talking about those sectors and so on, right? And how it plays a crucial role into the bigger picture. So let's take you back over to this to have it make more sense. So at the end of the day, look what it says here. What is the total GDP of the European Union, the EU 27? Well, it's approximately 15.8 trillion euros, okay? I'm just jumping right to the chase. What is 4% of 15.8 trillion euros? It's basically 632 billion euros. All right. What do we have from here? Well, basically speaking, if you go over to here on the exchange rate, you can get basically 1 euro equals 1.09 United States dollars. Okay. So what you want to take from here is this total, and that total basically comes out to be this right here, which is 690, excuse me, hold on. This is 369, and then this is 1 billion, 10 billion, 100 billion. So this is 690 billion, give or take. So what is 5% of 690 billion? Okay. So where I'm going with this is, can Jasmy provide this thing in regards to what? Well, remember how we talked about, for example, the key considerations of data economy for European Union GDP? So can Jasmy do 5% of that? I think we already established some of those considerations, right? Little Bidman's research and so on. So at 5% of that big whopper of a number, you're going to get basically this, which is about 34 billion. Let me just double check that. So 3, 6, and of course 9 zeros would be, yeah, that's how you get the number. So it's 34.5 billion. Okay. So my answer is yes, more than. Okay. As we get into the next part, check this out for a second. Do we have anything that we can check out in regards to market cap that will give us a representation? Well, yes. You will see here that the closest you come to of that 34.5 billion is Circle's USDC, okay? And that's a stable coin, but they have a market cap of 33.946 billion, right? Check this out for a second. Jasmy with the market cap of USDC Circle, okay, is at least 70 cents, and that's a 28.81x, okay? That's huge. And guess what, guys? Come on now. Come on now. That's just in this sector that we covered in alone. That sector alone. So when we talk about some of these great, big, huge price predictions and stuff like that, you know, shout out to Rob. He likes, you know, to be super conservative with the price predictions and so on. And, you know, I get it, right? But again, boom, back to this. Jasmy with the market cap of Circle, and as we know, it's a stable coin, but did we not talk about stable coins earlier? Talked a lot about it, right? That is absolutely huge in that sector alone. And that's, again, only the European Union. We're not even counting what it can do in the United States, Japan, and all these other places. That's just the European Union, guys. A 28.81x And you can clearly see how they will accomplish that. So at the end of the day, research, not just, oh, I believe this will happen and so on. Add it up for yourself. Look more into it yourself. Let me know what you think. There's, of course, going to be some yahoos in the comments. They're not going to see eye to eye with it and so on. It is what it is. Did they skip around the research? Some people point out, hey, they don't have an hour or whatever the case be. My deep dives, I do them for a reason. Sometimes they're shorter for some people. Sometimes they're not. Guess what? Didn't you guys have a VCR back in the day? Shout out to all you guys who are old school with your VCRs. You know? So do me a favor. Some of you guys that really enjoy the content, all you got to type in the comments, if you stayed to the end of this program, is 70 cents pause button. Or just type in 70 pause button. Or just type in pause button. And I'll know that you watched and listened to the whole thing. And that way, if anything, for some of the other guys, they're like, pause button. Yeah, pause button. Hit the pause button. You don't have to watch it all in one sitting. Come back to it later. Understand the bigger picture for Jasmy. So thank you so much for watching today's video in regards to, can Jasmy reach 70 cents minimum in this sector? We're not talking about a worldwide sector, just the European Union, right? Man, wow. Shout out to Lil Bidman for the great research. Rue Black with some of his videos that we did in collaborations. Brother Will Fix. IC Amphibian. I don't know why I mentioned IC Amphibian, but you know, he wasn't part of that. That's okay. But shout out to Brother IC. Dip Metaverse. Anybody else who I didn't mention, and everybody else who contributes to Jasmy research, you're much appreciated. You guys have a great rest of your weekend. By the way, I will be doing a collaboration with Rob Mass, Crypto Future 99 on his platform. It'll be a live show. You guys haven't seen me live for a while. But anyway, it's going to be at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, unless it gets delayed or something comes up. But it'll be on his platform. Be on the outlook for that. We'll try to talk about some of these things in this video. Okay? And some of the other things that he has, obviously. So have a blessed Sunday, everybody. Know what you have. As the saying goes, know why you hold it. The research trumps FUD 110%. Boom. I'm out of here. Sayonara from the Rice Crop Consortium. Let's go. We'll see ya. Bye-bye.
If managing your crypto feels like solving a puzzle, it's time to switch to Decent Wallet. Say goodbye to complicated setups and hello to Decent Wallet, the hassle-free solution to your digital currency needs. With just a few taps, you can manage, track, and secure your crypto with unmatched ease. And here's the best part. Grab your Decent Wallet at a discounted price by using the referral link below. Don't miss out on making your crypto experience smoother and more secure.